John, as you said, likely up toward the Carolina coast. That's where it is headed. Right now, winds are still 105, although I haven't seen any from the Hurricane Hunter. The eye is very big right now, but the potential is still there because the pressure is still down. It could catch up. The winds could catch up to the pressure. Sometimes that happens. Moving to the north-northwest at 8 miles per hour. Here is the eye of the storm offshore for you. Every once in a while, another band comes on shore, picks the winds up to 45 or almost 50. Farther to the north, though, up into Brunswick, big storms coming through on there. Some of these may have a water spout or two today, although that's not really the big problem. The big problem is going to be the surge. Where does this wind that you see here, most of the white here, certainly those are 100-mile-per-hour gusts, those are offshore. Moving on up toward the north, toward Brunswick and Savannah, very close. We could get a gust there somewhere along the coast of somewhere close to 90 or 100. Now, not sustained, but a gust. But then when you push all this water into Myrtle or maybe Cape Fear or then eventually off the Outer Banks, that's when that water is going to slosh onto the shore. So we could see 5 to 8 foot surges from Charleston up to Cape Fear. And if the outer band is going to make, or the eye wall is going to make landfall, it would be from north of Charleston likely, maybe toward Myrtle and then up toward Cape Fear. That would be the eye wall itself. But the problem here for Charleston Harbor is a 10.3 foot water level coming up over 2 tidal cycles here coming up. That would be the second highest tidal cycle ever, only behind Hurricane Hugo. John.
Well, we've got a new track now from the National Hurricane Center, Don, but for the most part, as we focus in on this, it's still a strong Category 2 and will remain that way for about 36 hours. It's still moving at 6 miles per hour, jogging now northwest. But again, at 6 miles an hour, that's pretty slow considering this is still a tropical system. But because it's been so strong for so long, Don, we're going to continue to see the winds extend outward. So don't concentrate that it went down from a 5 to 4 to 3 to a 2. The winds have been broadening the wind field. So the hurricane winds are out farther. The tropical storm winds are out now farther. So we're going to look at this. Now, the winds here on Grand Bahama Island, I know you've been showing this and everyone's been showing this image of the inundation. The winds tonight have been onshore, which has been impeding the receding of the waters at the airfield. They were under 5 feet. It was submerged. But now the winds are starting to push away. That should allow that water to move out. They can inspect that airfield, and hopefully we'll get some aircraft in there. If you notice the bands of rain, instead of periodic bands, the feeder bands with downpours now and then and letting up, it's now pretty good downpours that are occurring. From Daytona Beach all the way to Orlando, we've got some flood advisories. There have been a few scattered power outages. The system's 100 miles now from the coast, and that's been pretty much the same the last couple of nights and days. It was 105 from Fort Pierce, 105 off the coast of West Palm, so it's running parallel. Hurricane winds extend outward 55, so that's half the distance. But the tropical storm force winds do extend now 150 miles. So that is causing some of the power outages and the surge. But here's the track change, and we still are looking at the possibility of a landfall possibly near North Carolina. Could it be Cape Fear? Could it be the Outer Banks? But Charleston Harbor, Wednesday night, is looking at a rise in the waters of 10.3 feet. That is the second highest on record, back behind Hugo in 1989, which was over 12 feet. So we're not out of the woods here with damages. And of course, even in Jacksonville, we could see the St. Johns River start to have that water pushed out. But the track still looks like a possible landfall, and we're going to have to watch that in the days ahead.
It is only day 2 of work for British MPs after the summer holidays, but Parliament has already seen an epic showdown as Britain's deadline to leave the EU draws nearer. A rebel alliance of lawmakers rose up against the UK Prime Minister and moved to put a stop to a no-deal Brexit. Boris Johnson then sacked 21 members of his own party who had backed the measure, and he made good on his threat to seek a general election. Take a listen.
The leader of the opposition has been begging for an election for 2 years. He has crowds of supporters outside calling for an election. I don't want an election, but if MPs vote tomorrow to stop negotiations and to compel another pointless delay to Brexit, potentially for years, then that would be the only way to resolve this. And I can confirm that we are tonight tabling a motion under the fixed term Parliament.
I think that the only positive thing one can take of this right now, we've really reached a breaking point, perhaps even a new breaking point. But I think that having Boris Johnson at the helm and his group, his cabinet of Brexiteers, after these 3 years when he allowed the transition and Prime Minister May to be there, is they're starting to understand, while being in the hot seat, what it is really like to deal with this particular issue. And I think that what we have been witnessing in Parliament for the last few hours is essentially a fight to the death on the question of Brexit, with Boris Johnson's party desperately trying to appeal to Nigel Farage and to the Brexit party, without whom they cannot win a general election. And on the other side of the political spectrum, the opposition coming together, not so much for something, for a particular definition of Brexit, but against a no deal. And it seems that as things stand right now, they've succeeded at least in achieving that.
We're talking about your brain and a new study just published which links drinking 2 or more diet sodas a day with an increased risk of stroke. CNN Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Sanjay Gupta joining us now with today's Here's to Your Health. So Sanjay, what did the study find?
Yeah, and by the way, I love the heart, but I love the brain even more. That was really nice, Erica. This is an interesting study. This has been brewing out there for some time. This idea that there's a connection between diet drinks, artificially sweetened beverages, and stroke. But this is now the largest study. It was a study of over 81,000 women, and what they found was that the women who drank 2 or more diet sodas a day were more likely to have a type of stroke. 31% more likely to have that stroke. So, and this was mostly in women who were ages 50 to 79, as you can see there. Higher risk if you were African American, higher risk if you had a body mass index over 30. Now, let me show you something else real quick, because everyone who's watching this is saying, yes, but, right? What were the things that they actually accounted for? Like, were they already had some sort of history of heart disease? No. Did they already have a history of stroke? No. They found the physical activity in the diet was the same between the people who actually drank more diet soda and those who didn't. So you can sort of dispense with all those other things that may have caused this to happen. I will point out that out of the 81,000 women, only 5% or so actually drank 2 or more diet sodas a day. So it was a small population of people, but again, they had this increased incidence of stroke.